how did you get started in investing in your self-directed IRA?
Oh, okay. Well, to back up just a little bit, we did some real estate investing years ago. My husband got interested in it, and we did some things right before the crash that was in 2008. And we had a bad experience. So because we didn't know what we were doing, and we dealt with people who were nice. Everybody's nice, but it turns out we got into some bad situations using we were asked to use our credit for a project where every individual door in this project they had construction loans by individuals on, and then the project they were, I don't know if it's called embezzling, I suppose it is, because they were using money from the draws that weren't for our project. And they'd been doing this successfully, I guess, if you call that success, but they had been getting by with that for years because the economy was good. But in 2008, around the time that we were involved in that project, things went south. And so we had a very bad experience with legal fees for years and trying to get out from under that. And so our bad experience kind of informed us and scared us about the future, with trying to do real estate. Scared us a little bit, and we stayed away from it for a long time. And then my husband has some money. He had some money as stock in a company that was an ESOP, an employee-owned company that was liquidated because it got sold to another big, larger company. And so he bought out essentially. And so we had kind of a lump of cash that is, it's actually retirement. It's in a retirement account. And so that's how we got involved with the Checkbook IRA, through Checkbook IRA, Steve Shepard and his group, Peter Rizzo and that group. So what our idea was, we had decided we wanted to get back into real estate, but the parameters that we were trying to do was we wanted to buy properties to rent in our local area that we would control, that we just bought outright, that that's what we had in mind. That's what we have done.
Yep.
We have one of those that we bought. There's still a lot that we don't know, and in fact, it was through Checkbook IRA that we got wind of Beckstone Partners and found out about Tim. And honestly, I am a very skeptical, especially since, I have my nature is to be a little bit gullible, I suppose, in some ways, but because of the things that we've been through, I'm kind of a skeptic, and I just sort of dislike everybody to begin with. Anyone who wants my money, I just, look at them with a, a jaundiced eye, I guess, but I don't trust anybody. And so I kept putting off even listening to what Tim had to offer. But when we did listen and got familiar with what he was doing, we found out that he had done a lot of research and has, at least on the project that we were involved in, he had a lot of research behind it. He had a lot of information, a lot of knowledge about what he was doing. It wasn't what we were looking for per se, because like I said, what we had in mind to do was local real estate that we would hold and cash. We would just have cash flow, into perpetuity for our retirement. That was our idea. But and we have some other investments as well, but it wasn't on my radar, so to speak, what Tim was doing. But because he had such a compelling story and had done such good work in finding a good area, it's made my husband say, I'm kind of wishing we hadn't done the local deal that we did, because the market here is a little scary. I guess in a lot of parts of the country, things are perhaps overvalued. And so, and identifying good markets is tricky. And we feel like that is something that Tim and his people and the people he does business with have been good at figuring out. And so between all the things that we, have going on, we have little pieces of pie in several different things, and hopefully they'll pan out. But we feel really good about this one that we did with Beckstone.
Well, that's great. And when you mention about being skeptical, there's a lot of people still from 2008, 2009 timeframe that are still living with the skepticism. But if you want to find a lot of books, just Google books on skeptics, and you'll probably find quite a few of them. I think it's just happened since 2008 and 9. There's been quite a few people.
Well, my husband and I would like to. I'm not working anymore. I was, but I'm not anymore. And he would like to retire in the next 5 years at the most. And it's kind of a scary time in your life. We do have some money because of retirement. That's why it's in the checkbook IRA, but it's got to feed us and take care of us from here on out, once he quits his job. And that's just a big step to take. It takes a lot of faith in what we've invested in. It takes a lot of faith in the people that we're doing business with.
And I think you're a little bit ahead of some people, because you had talked about the importance of cash flow, that you understand that it's not so much about account balance, but it's really more about the cash flow. And whenever I have a friend that's getting ready to retire, I ask the question about what's it going to feel like when you cash your last paycheck. And some people have never looked at it that way, but it becomes real when you cash your last paycheck.
And you're just relying on what you have managed to put together and your team. It's all up to you.
Yep. And so that's what's very, very important. So then I'm assuming that checkbook IRA then made the referral to Beckstone Partners.
Yes, they had some videos that we could watch, and I had gotten a couple of things from them. At first I just wasn't interested, because we thought we knew, we had a plan. We thought we knew what we were going to do, and then I thought, well, I'll take a look. And then I took it to my husband and said, just take a look and listen to what he says about this market that he's investing in. Tim is investing in, and see what you think about what he has to say. So that's kind of how we got started. I just took a listen, because I appreciate and value my friends at Checkbook IRA, and they don't send me stuff all the time. They've never sent me anything except this.
Yeah, interesting. So you find somebody that you can depend upon, and then just look for those referrals to somebody else, because birds of a feather flock together kind of type.
Right, and like I say, I'm a skeptic by nature. Well, not by nature really, but by experience, and so I wasn't really interested, until I thought I would take a look at it, but I wasn't interested at first. But yeah, Tim has a compelling story.
Yeah. So you've been talking about your decision-making process a little bit, and identifying yourself as a skeptic up front. You were most likely very careful and taking a little bit at a time and letting it soak in to learn and to get comfortable. Have you talked to anybody else that you might know about this type of investment? And I'm just always curious to understand what clients are saying to other clients, because that's really what becomes important when you're talking to somebody at Beckstone Properties. So I'm just curious, what have you mentioned to other people, and how have you communicated the benefits or the process to somebody else?
I don't know that we've really talked about it to anybody else besides our family. Our children know what we're doing. But I haven't really talked to other people about it, because we just live in a time where everybody wants to sell you something, and they're just coming at you from all angles. And I don't think I want my friends to think I'm trying to sell them something. If they were to ask me, what I would tell them, but I haven't really had those questions.
It is interesting, in those years before retirement, people start asking each other and talking about it a little bit more.
Yeah, that's true. If someone were to ask me, I would.
Yeah. So would you mention the cash flow aspect, or would you mention the prospect or the process that you went through? I mean, would you go down the benefit route, or would you go down more the process route?
probably benefit. That would probably be more my nature, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. First 20 years of my career as a financial advisor, and a lot of times it was more about an account balance type thing. But the reality is when you get ready to cash that last paycheck, it really becomes more about the cash flow. And a lot of people have just never looked at it that way because they've always looked at their account balance, not just so much the stream of income. What if somebody were to ask you a question? What would be your number one benefit that you would talk about, and what would be the number one thing that you would talk to somebody about as far as investigating to make sure they're making a good investment for their retirement?
That's an interesting question. I'm not an expert. I actually have neighbors that do financial planning. I have several. I have like 3 people in my neighborhood that's their job. Yep. And I know that's it's not a bad route to go. It's just that whoever you're going to talk to, you're going to get their bias and their products that they like, and their, I am a little leery of that. I just like to do research, my own research, and get it in my mind. It's not that I wouldn't ever do that, but I like getting a plan in mind that cuts out the stock market. Perhaps I'm very wary of the stock market right now. Right. It's hard to find any place to put your money right now, that you can feel comfortable with. It's just, honestly, it's an issue for everyone. It's not just us. There's plenty of people buying real estate, but prices are high. They've gone up because of that. There's people in real estate trusts or whatever, that are buying as though they're investing in Wall Street, but they're investing in real estate that way. And I just have concerns about the market. And so that was one of the reasons that I am leaning towards trusting real estate more than the stock market. Now, that doesn't make sense of why, but I am worried about the stock market and what's going to happen in the next few years there. So real estate's been on my radar for some time, regardless of what has happened with the ups and downs, and people having the issue that we had. Actually wasn't just that the market dropped, it was that we had been involved with people that were doing illegal things, but we got left holding the bag. The bank and the courts agreed with the bank that we still owed the bank, even though people had embezzled from us. Yeah. So yeah, trust. Who you can trust is a big factor for us, because we don't understand everything. So being able to trust people and feel like they're trustworthy and that they have done good research. Those are two of the big things, I think.
Up front, you mentioned about Salt Lake City and the appreciation that's gone in there. So you were a little desiring to maybe own and manage your own real estate, but then knowing that you might be buying at a high, you were very, very aware of supply and demand at work, because the recent increases. And what's interesting is when you talk about the research you did with Beckstone Partners, was it really around that supply and demand and really making sure you're getting into a growth opportunity? Was that one of the drivers for you?
And the information that Tim had given us, and the story that he tells about why they were buying the properties, the ones that we invested in, why they were buying them in that area, and the timing and the market, all of his research, his explanation of it made good sense to us. And honestly, I had felt like when we were cashed out of the company that we had ownership in, it was at a very high price, that was given to us. So I felt like, okay, even if all of the U.S. takes a hit, if every market in the U.S. takes a hit, if the stocks and real estate, if everything takes a hit, we will take a hit somewhere. But, I was prepared for that because I didn't know of any way to avoid it,
Right.
so we did buy some property here, and I don't expect that it will stay at this value. It may surprise me. It may.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm certainly not comfortable with losing money, but I'm prepared for that to happen also, that we could take a hit. But because the type of research that Tim has done and the identifying a strong market, if the whole U.S. gets hit, where he's looking at should get hit less. And I'm saying I'm kind of it sounds like I'm a doomsday person, but that's kind of how I have to think about it.
Well, you have to take care of yourself, not short term, but long term, once you decide to retire. And, one of the things that I found in talking to a lot of people is that the number one regret really hasn't been making a bad investment. The number one regret I hear is that people who just quit making decisions after 08, 09, and they've been sitting on the sideline for a decade.
Well, it's actually been a good time to be involved in the last decade.
Well, and I guess what I was going to say is that the good news for you is you're still making decisions even though you've come through a rough patch. And, showing a little bit of courage, but understanding that even when we think we're not making a decision, we are making a decision.
That's true. And it is hard to, people always say people always say, don't try and time the market. You don't know. You don't know. You might suspect that this is around the corner or whatever, but you do have to just keep plugging along and finding the best deals, finding the best situation. So we feel really comfortable. I feel really good about what Tim's done for us, and that we'll see a good return.
Yeah, and you've got a few years to get a good start on preparing for it if it's another 5 years before retirement. So, what is one piece of advice that you could give Tim and Kevin and Beckstone Partners? What would be one thing, if anything, that you think that they could have done differently or better to make it a better experience for you?
Oh gosh, well, to start with, I'll say, I won't answer your question at first. I'll say what I've really appreciated is that even though I'm really slow to get back to Tim, I'll take too long to get back to him about some question he has for me, but he never takes too long to get back to me. It seems like in moments he is back to me on whatever it is that I'm asking him. And he doesn't ever leave me in the dark. He's right. You raised a good boys as far as working hard, I think, because he has a great work ethic and he is on top of things. And that is rare today, that people are just on top of that. They'll say what they're going to do and then do what they said they will do. And that I have just had Tim show me over and over that he is good at that. He does what he's going to do, and then he does it immediately. He just gets right on things, and I've appreciated that. So as far as what he could have done differently, I can't. I'm struggling trying to think of something that he might have done better.
But that's okay. Confirmation of doing a good job is just as important. But the way we get better is to be vulnerable and keep asking about what is it that we could have done differently.
It's like exit interviews with your employees, right? You really do want to know what they have to say about you as well. So. Right.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you would like to share, if that maybe Beckstone Partners could have done as far as marketing or communication or anything at all?
Nothing comes to mind. I don't think of anything. I think they're doing a great job, and they have definitely met my needs and answered my questions at every step. I can't really think of anything different that I would have had them do.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time